How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Ultimate Game Room, and this is Dixon logging on. And this is also another part of the video game dropout series. Why am I dropping out with these two games? Well, you'll see why. In this video, I'm going to talk about the two first-person shooter games that were set in two of the most gruesomest wars of the 20th century. NAM and WWII GI, which both games came out on PC in the late 90s that uses the build engine like Duke Nukem 3D, Shadow Warrior, Blood, and Power Slave. Which all four of those games that I just mentioned got remastered. Well, actually the console port of Power Slave did. The PC version didn't get a remaster yet, but hopefully they will. And I was also hoping that these two real-life war-based games get the same treatment, because they really need the love. And these are the two games that I wanted to love. Because doing war-based games using the build engine, as well as hearing some of the same humor from the previous games that used the build engine, with awesome blood effects of enemy NPCs. And I also like the fact that you can kill commies and Nazis, since they're both pretty much the same to me. All that I mentioned above was a grand idea, but gameplay-wise, poorly executed with a lot of flaws. Both NAM and WWII GI were developed by TNT Games, which that team was known for just those two games. Maybe 3D Realms, Monolith, or Rebellion should have worked on those games themselves. Maybe they might have been too busy working on other projects, which happens. Unlike the popular build engine games I mentioned above, these two games were also published by GT Interactive, which is now Atari Inc. Now, why am I saying NAM before WWII? Well, because NAM came out first in 1998, and WWII GI came out the following year. Both games are unforgiving. You play these games, you will get killed instantly. Unless if you're using God mode. And these are the type of games you want to save frequently, because enemies will pop out of nowhere. And if they get the upper hand on you, then you're good as dead. Well, if not dead, that is. Enemies can camouflage themselves in any part of the field. Then again, I guess that kind of makes sense in real life too. And the controls for this game on modern OSs is outdated. And I did edit the controls to make them like the WASD keys as much as I can. But it doesn't fix anything, and sometimes doing it that way kind of made it a little bit worse than previous controls before, so that's not helpful either. Because the controls are quite clunky as they are. And the games are full of bugs. All I can say about both games, no matter what difficulty you have it on, the name Death Trap is written all over both games. Enemies coming out of nowhere, minefields, poison gas areas, airplane dropping bombs out of the sky. Oh yeah, and sure, in ways, they're actually similar to the events in both wars. Hell on Earth. And I'm up for a challenge when it comes to these events. But with outdated controls, the lack of a reasonable, easy, difficult setting to start at the bottom, I mean, having an easier difficulty setting would be helpful. And after all, they're both games. And a little practice here and there wouldn't hurt. But the game does have an invincibility mode, which is known as the God mode. But even there, that definitely doesn't save the game. And using the invincibility for this game is even more pointless. Speaking of war-based games and World War II games, in 1999 the PlayStation released their console exclusive Medal of Honor, and that one was one hell of a masterpiece, along with their prequel the following year, Underground. But sadly, I cannot say the same for NAM and WWII GI, which were PC exclusives. Usually when it comes to first-person shooter games, PC games are usually superior than console ports. And I'm not sure what else to say about either NAMM or WWII GI, but I would recommend that you check out GMANLIVES' take on both games. He can explain it better than I can, and I never completed either of these two games. And since they're too flawed and hectic, there's no point going back into them. So, I hate to say this, but I can't recommend either of these games for anyone. And that's sad, because I wanted to like these games. They used a build engine, they had brilliant ideas, it's just the gameplay themselves wasn't on par with the other build engine games. But it's not the end of the world, because both these games can be saved. Like if both games get remasters with modern resolution, modern visuals, modern WASD keys, a custom difficulty, maybe an autosave option, and with all the flaws ironed out. Hopefully Night Dive Studios can use their Kex engine to make these games better than ever. Or unless if any other developer has any ideas of remastering them, that's fine too. So, unless if any developer remasters both these games, I'm done playing them both. That's all there is to that. Thank you all very much for watching, and this is Dixon of the Ultimate Gamer. I'm logging off.